welcome back. We're going to continue with 4 more questions on this poem from AP Lit 1999 from the last video. Now my tip for you is how to save your time when you are answering these questions. Sometimes when you read these questions and then their answers are so long, you read one and you forget one. Now here's what you do to help you with that. Don't forget the answers. You can just scan the answers for appropriate keywords that represent the theme or the tone of the answer. For example, the speaker perceives the coming of spring chiefly in terms of sounds and colors, odors and taste shapes, and that's a lot to read. So what you can just do is, we'll just go with this question. Okay, so we've read that there's a lot of pianos, and then there's bees, there's blossom, there's a whole bunch of thing in here, and then you got drums, and then there's song somewhere in here. We just answer? We got shout and we got pianos. And if they asked us a question about pianos, and there's pianos and drums, and it sounds like there's something to do with sound, right? So if we just scan this entire passage, just look up and down, right and left, you might find, sounds, music. Okay, so that's probably going to be kind of what we're looking for. Odors and tastes, from what we read, there's no odors and tastes, but guess what? I just found another shout, so there's another sound. There's no odor. Okay, moving on. Shapes and textures. If there were shapes and textures, I would probably find something describing this is yellow or amber red, or I don't know, azure blue. And textures, triangle, cylinder, but we don't see those geometric ideas in here from what we've read and scanned throughout this poem. So we're moving on. Love and youth. There's no love in here. It's talking about dread, robin, dared not meet, which we've already gone over. So we're just going to chiefly look at A or D. Now, if we were looking for sounds or music, if we were thinking of music, we would find musical instruments and possibly singing and mellifluous melodies. So something that sounds pleasant, because music is supposed to be pleasant. Okay, that's a connotation behind the D. Remember, according to this tip, very important, if something is the answer, what form could I see it in? Instead of making the proof to fit these answers, you want to establish a mindset of these answer choices and then apply to the proof to see which one fits. Okay, so we're just starting with establishing that notion first. Sounds and colors. If there were sounds, it would just be noise. It might not be pleasant. It's just noise, maybe cacophonious or just random noises that's creating some sort of motion through sound. There's nothing mellifluous, there's nothing organized, just sounds. And colors, they might talk about exotic colors like ruby, emerald. Otherwise, there would be no point talking about colors. They're just saying red, yellow. Maybe something interesting. Some colors deeply described. Poetry. I mean, the entire thing is a poem. So if something were to perceive the coming of spring in terms of poetry, I mean, this is a poem. But if it were talking about poetry in the poem, then maybe the speaker would be writing a poem. So there's this sounds a little controversial. We don't know what that is. So we'll just see if there's colors. Is there colors? I found one. Yellow. Is there any more colors? I think that's the only color. Okay. Even though if you really want to think through it, there's daffodils yellow, bees are yellow. There's some parallel. And so then, even if colors sound a little ambiguous, colors and poetry, they kind of tie, okay, kind of tie. So we'll just break the tie with sounds and music. Now we know sounds is just noise and music is pleasant. Okay, this is a very interesting question. We'll look at anything that denotes sound in here. Okay, we got a shout, and then we have a piano. We have a word. We have saluting. There might be a sound. drums. Unthinking drums. Shout, pianos, word, salute, drums. So if it were music, there might be organization in here. But if it were totally music, chiefly music, there wouldn't be shouts, right? There's no shouting in music. And then they were just referring to instruments, piano and drums. That could denote music, but when there's word, salute, and shout really throws it off. So the answer is A. Now we're going to go to question 21. Grammatically, the word plumes... Okay, sorry, I actually don't know this one because for my AP test, I just skipped all of that. Just try to guess. And luckily, there wasn't too many questions about grammar. There weren't any, probably, on my test, AP test. In line 21, failed is best understood to mean line 21, not a creature failed. Now we look at the answers first. Failed, yeah, all of these kind of have a connotation. So then we look at the context because we know tip 2, read and understand the context of quote because the context will affect the meaning and the tone of a quote. Okay, 21. They're here though. Not a creature failed. No blossom stayed away. Okay, so no one failed in staying away. So everyone was here. So we're gonna scan at all of these choices, and then I'm gonna pick out the ones that seem plausible. Because we're trying to save time, we're not looking for the wrong answers to eliminate, we're looking for the right answers. And here we get this tip again. Now we scan. What seems like something that's not failing to stay away? Okay, there we go. Since it's not failing to stay away, that means you were not absent. So it's this. It's not saying they were absent, it's saying not any of them were absent. So if you just substitute absent in here, it's like not absent. And that I got from the stay away clue. Now the thing with finding clues from surrounding contexts, sometimes it's really useful when the question is confusing, but you don't want to use that for every question because sometimes they'll use that to throw you off. So if the question just seems way out there, then you can look for the meaning of the context and apply it, or just look for like literal clues around it. But you just want to be careful not to overdo it, otherwise you'll not do really well, but at least you'll still pass. Okay, one effect of they're here though, line 21, is to emphasize the speaker's feelings of hopelessness, contentment, justification, guilt, powerlessness. Okay, just from this little quote we can't infer anything, so we'll have to go back to 21. They're here though, not a creature failed, no blossom stayed away. So these two kind of tied together. They're in the same sentence kind of idea. So let's see, if they were talking about they're here, if they were hopeful, they'd be happy. If they were content, they'd be happy. If they were justification, they'd be rationalizing something. Guilt would be you did something wrong. There would be an element of the speaker did something wrong. Powerlessness is you can't, they want to change it, but they can't. They're here though, not a creature failed, no blossom stayed away, in gentle deference to me. I don't want to read too far because otherwise it just throws you off with too much information. Now we see they were talking about no blossom stayed away. That sounds like they wish that they stayed away, because if they wanted them to come near, they would say, not a creature failed to come near or something like that, but they talked of in the negative of the negative. So then contentment, they don't sound happy. If they were content, they would probably say, oh, I'm so grateful for that, but there's no symbol of that. Hopefulness, that implies something to do with the future, and there's no future here. They're all here. They did not stay away. They are all present. Justification, you're rationalizing something that you did or someone else did. Is there rationalizing here? Not a creature failed, no blossom stayed away. No, there's no rationalizing for a reason. They're just describing what happened. Now we're gonna only look at D or E. D implies that the speaker did something wrong because then that's how you get guilt. But in here, the speaker didn't do anything wrong. It's just everyone came to him and he can't escape. So it sounds like it's E. And the answer is E.